Hey, how's it going? It's me, Malorian. This is not really a War Machine Weekly. This is kind of a more personal video that I thought it'd be good to document my progress going through Infernals. So, many of you should be aware that I got Infernals. My amazing community here got me in a starter box. From there, I got in pretty much everything else I needed to play. I haven't jumped in and got like any of the Colossals yet or anything like that, but I almost have everything all painted up, all ready to go. You've seen my pink Infernals, the flowers and the birds and stuff like that. But I'm about 10 games in right now, so I'm not going to be counting like the ones I did before, like, oh, it's Sloan, but I'll just call it Infernals. No, this is about 10 games with the actual Infernal Masters. So I've only played one game with Agathon. This is one without Foreboders, so I don't know if that even really counts. I played 2 with Zadaroth, and then 7-ish with Omodamos. Most of my games have been with Omo. I think it's actually been more than 7, but I'm in that range of 10 games. And what I thought would be good to kind of capture right now is do a quick little video talking about how I think Infernals are, and then later on when I get to like game 100 or something, I can look back and go like, oh, that Malorian, he's such an idiot, he thought whatever, and so that'll be good. It might also be good for any new Infernal players, so that if you're trying to get into it, you can kind of feel like, oh, that's something to consider, that when you're first in your first games, this is something that's a real issue to try and deal with. So, another thing I should explain too is that at this point where I started playing Infernals, they'd already been nerfed several times. So, when I first learned about Infernals and played against them, they were crazy powerful. And I thought they were just completely broken. You know, like, hey, you got this faction where you get to go bring in as many heavies as you want. You know, turn little 4-point heavies into, little 4-point solos into heavies. How do you lose, right? Attrition wise, you send in your heavy, you take out a tormentor, you're feeling great. They just take out your heavy, make out another tormentor, and you've basically traded your heavy for, you know, a solo, really, right? And so crazy powerful. However, these are the nerfs that happened since then. So probably the major one was Valen Hawk. So Valen Hawk used to give Tactician to the entire faction. And that was huge, right? It meant that order of activation didn't matter because everything's moving through everything else. Things could move through the gate. Counter charges with Tormentors could be going through whatever you wanted. And it just really made things very easy. Valen Hawk, a 7-point solo, expensive, but that Tactician, priceless. Gives you so much when it's faction wide and you're just doing whatever you want. Another important one here, Tormentors went from mat 7 down to mat 6. Very important. You know, coming as a Merc player, I know that mat 6 can really hurt. And even though there's some ways where like Omodamos can have like synergy and stuff, you know, like starting at 6 even means like when you countercharge, it's not as deadly. I mean, you're not countercharging through your own models anymore. And when you get there, it's just at mat 6. And so there's a lot of times you countercharge and just miss. Another big thing that came up, Tormentors now going down in armor, so they're not 19, they're only 18 now, and I think that's it for the actual nerfs. There's some other changes here with the dynamic update. You know, the lights went up an armor, not really a big deal, at least that's how I feel right now. You know, Omo and Zadaroth went up 2 beast points. That seems pretty nice. You know, now Zadaroth you have to pay for. It's not free anymore, so that kind of hurts. But all the other, like, of course, like the Howlers and the Griever Swarms with down in points type thing, but those are all pretty minor compared to that loss of Tactician, the mat, and also the armor. Those are pretty significant. Now, what I have found immediately as a new player is that Essence is a lot harder to deal with than I first thought. Again, first looking at Infernals, I was like, oh yeah, you just go in, you make a heavy every turn, and you get all these cool spells you can do. Well, you can't do all those things. I mean, let's just take Omodamos. If I want to go and cast Locked Horns and put up my synergy, or maybe just upkeeping synergy and bring in a heavy, that's impossible. And it's impossible because, one spell is cost 3, one spell is cost 2. Even if I'm going to do Locked Horns and I'm upkeeping and I made it cheaper, that means Locked Horns is 2, upkeep is 3, getting a Tormentor is 4. I'm only Essence 6, so that's not possible. Unless I'm doing a thing where I'm like sacrificing a Deviros so that someone was free or something like that. So what I quickly learned is like, so I need to do things like with Hermit, putting out a free essence so that now I have 7 and now I can do all those things and be camping 0. It's like, oh my god, I can do these things, but now I'm like sitting there with Omodamos, who's like a little bit beefy, right? A good amount of boxes and armor, but honestly, these things die easy, right? If they can get some good guns on me or something, Omodamos will just die. So you kind of want to be camping. And so trying to balance these things and making sure that you can be doing what you need to do and then still be camping really feels extremely limiting. And so as well, anything you can do to be getting extra souls helps this so much. So like to me right now, like things like Nicaea, being able to shoot something and pass over an essence later on, basically invaluable because I need it for all these things where I can do that stuff and at least camp 1, maybe even 2. Omodamos, I'm loving because, I mean, first of all, he's a badass, also has synergy, which helps out, but also the fact that the battle group has hellhounds or whatever it's called. So if they kill any living models that has a soul with a range or combat attack, you just get those souls in. I'm not going to bother redoing this one, taking this out. If I cough in this, deal with it. It's just the way it goes. That is crazy. It's been making me really love Omodamos because getting in all those souls and stuff, really, really awesome. Also then after that, realizing, trying to maintain and keep everything going, right? So like you summon in a Desolator, and then if you want your cultist to get to it, you can't just put like that Desolator way up there. It has to be within like 9 of like 3 of your cultists so that they can be going up there and then actually trying to add it on. And the other thing too is like, every single turn you're going to be tithing, and sure, you can be having the Hermit go there and adding 1 each turn, but that first of all means that your entire battle group has to be kind of like within this little 5-inch bubble type thing from the Hermit. And as well, that's only 1 essence. So of course, if your beasts ever want to do something and use up their essence, they're not getting that back unless your cultists can get in there and be trying to be giving them more. Again, your Infernal Masters could be giving them essence, but you just don't have the essence to do that. I have never been in a spot where my actual Infernal Master was giving essence out to a beast because I'm just too busy doing other stuff. So to me, like, the cultists are invaluable. And sometimes, if my opponent's about to take out a Tormentor, or maybe they could go and take out my cultists, I'm like, please kill the Tormentor. Please kill the Tormentor. Otherwise, like, I won't be able to feed the rest of my battle group as my cultists need to go up there. So originally, I thought I'd need to be going with 3 units of cultists. I got told by people, no, you'll be fine with 2, and 2's been working out okay, but I kind of feel like if people start targeting my cultists, I'm gonna need to go back and like maybe go with 3, maybe try and do something else. It seems like it's really risky there, where like it seemed before, right? Infernals are so strong, all these free heavies, and now that I'm playing it, I'm kind of realizing like how finicky it is and how careful I need to be, otherwise my heavies just like explode and die. And I haven't really been facing like enemy hermits and stuff yet. I can only imagine what's going to happen when I have a hermit in my face where it's like -1 essence. I'll be like, screw you, or like, I have to kill it in a very specific way or else it's going to explode and kill all my horrors basically as I lose all my essence across the way, right? Also with this dynamic update, a lot more ways where people can be like stealing my essence. Like Kaelissa just be like pew 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 and taking off 3 essence. Like that's going to be a big deal. Something else I've really found too is the idea where there's a lot of accounting that you have to do. So I've actually had to go and specifically made separate cards so that I can do this a lot easier, but the management of the essence and knowing what rings good and all these types of things, something you really have to manage during the game. And I know that some other people have told me that's why they don't like Infernals, is because it's like a chore to play. That you go in there and there's like just so many, like, first of all, lots of thoughts. Like, what am I going to summon this turn? What am I going to try and cast? Or like I said, Essence is such a limited thing, and obviously you need to do or really want to do a Tormentor, but then like, what solo are you going to be losing on all these types of things? And at the same time, you're trying to manage all this Essence. To me, I'm liking that right now, because when I was playing things like my Magnus, it was just like dumb time. Go up, run up, feet. I can do that half asleep, half drunk, fully drunk, whatever. It's super, super easy. This feels like I'm doing something, right? When you're building the list, it seems boring. There's not a lot of options you can really do when you kind of like break it down. But in the game, that's when I'm wanting to be there, enjoying it and playing it. And that's what I get with these. There's always trying to think like, oh my God, okay, I got to do this first and then that, and then this can go over here. And then these cultists are going to have to try and do this, but I got to heal that. So I got to heal this here. Like, there's so many things that matter that I'm loving it. Every time I play it, it's engaging and meaningful whenever I'm playing. One of the things I am loving so far, like I said, for the three casters so far, or the Infernal Masters, Omodamos. Omodamos is my my safety blanket that I like to play with, because it's that big beefy dude that can do work if needed, but that synergy is something that kind of like makes things work, so I can really hit whatever I need to do. Raising the armor with locked horns, fantastic. But then more than anything else, that Hellhounds, that rule is so critical, and getting in that extra essence, fantastic. Zadaroth, cool that you start with more essence, that helps. But it's kind of like adding an extra layer, because you're like, okay, right to torment, I gotta make sure that scything touches here, and I'm gonna have to make sure that I kill something with this so that this gets to move, and when's the best time to pop this feat, so I'm extra defense and all these things. I gotta make sure that the Lamenter's in the right spot so that the defense is the right way. Like, it's a very cool caster that's adding even more, but while I'm stuck trying to think of all these things, it's just extra stuff to think about. And the hard thing with Zadaroth is that you're not getting in those souls like you are with Omodamos. Again, you could be taking the Nicaeas, you could take a Soul Stalker to try and kill some things. She could also shoot things and steal them, but I feel like to do that, you have to get her in danger. So I'm a little bit lukewarm on Zadaroth right now. It seems really cool to play, but it's a harder one to play for sure. So whenever I'm feeling up to a challenge, that's when I'll be going for Zadaroth. Agathon, again, I only played the one game so far, and that was without Foreboders, but really seems really cool. It actually has lots of essence, so the idea that we have that problem with Omo, where like, okay, I can't do everything, Agathon has the essence to do the things that you want to do. Also nice that now once I have Foreboders, I can arc through, do some dark fires, get some my own little essence as well. I really like the flexibility of the idea of it, where you can go in there and be like, I could go for assassination, or I could like boop, teleport things away and dark seduction things away and have like a real scenario presence, or just go attrition and be like, okay, I'm going to Hellmouth maybe to kill your infantry, or I might Hellmouth and then tether to like extend the threat range by like 6 inches on one of my heavies there. Like, go get them, right? So that seems really, really cool. I can't wait to be playing that. I'm guessing that going future, my pairing will be Omodamos and Agathon, but we'll kind of see how things go forward. Otherwise, for like beasts, what can I say? Tormentors so far are chef's kiss. They're amazing. Desolator, I have one, which is always the first summon. I don't think I'm going to need to get any more of that. Soul Stalkers, currently all own one. Second one's coming. I feel like there's no real reason for it with Omodamos, because you already are getting souls anyway. I've been told you want it for extra threat. Right now, I'm not really feeling it. I usually summon it only when I run out of Tormentors on my tray, and I own 5 so far. Although I feel though with Zadaroth, I want 1, probably 2, and then with Agathon, at least 1 there for something to be getting it in. And then the lights, I originally really liked the Lamenters. I thought the Lamenters were so cool, they could get in there, block lots of things. But then I realized that for the cost of 2 Lamenters, I could be getting some Howlers, and Howlers have been amazing. I have been loving Howlers so much. I want to run Howlers in every list. Basically, I find that when I was trying to run Omodamos without Howlers, people were charging into me, getting the alpha, I was losing lots of stuff, and then with the Howlers, I have this strong front line that's really difficult to take out, and then if they do, hey, then everything's in place for me to actually go and hit back hard with the Tormentors the way I want to. So obviously amazing with Omodemos where you have locked horns. With Zadaroth, even there, it's like defense 14, getting the feed on, Lamenter there. Hey, they're already doing pretty well and doing that kind of like high defense thing that's that front line. And then even with say like Agathon, where like I'm doing nothing for them, like at least almost locked horns. Zadaroth is going to be the feat. And then for Agathon, nothing. However, I feel like having that front line will be very important so that I can really set that scenario line. So I can actually do my tricks and all those things and have a presence that's protecting me. Again, I'll need to play more Agathon. I've only played the one game so far, so it's not like I have a lot of experience going into it, but I kind of feel that's how it's going to go. For the gate, for the battle engine or structure, I'm not loving it so far. It's kind of it was nice with Omodemos where I said things are so tight there for all of your essence, and so having that summoning being one cheaper really makes things easier. It means I can do those things and be camping one right there. I'm showing 2 1s because one there and one for Regna, and so that was really nice. But I really find that a lot of times it's not doing anything. I'm being more aggressive, especially with the Howlers. I'm just getting aggressive and getting up there, and there's typically not much for it to really shoot, not really anything that's like staying back in range for it to teleport. And at the same time, those points just be another Tormentor, which would be at the front line doing things, right? So maybe like instead of making a Tormentor cheaper, I just have the Tormentor. So I'm still kind of lukewarm on it. Maybe we'll have to kind of see, maybe if I want to get more trickery with moving things around, maybe I'll end up liking it at Agathon, but I'm already finding that Agathon's really hard to make the list for because I need a lot of other options I don't need in the other ones. Like I need the Orin 2, I need the Eilish for like the Puppet Master, so the points aren't really there that I have free, but we'll kind of play around with it. Gargantuans, those big gargantuan horrors. I haven't played with them at all yet. I had the opportunity. I had a friend that let me borrow them. I was still learning the faction at first. And even now, I'm not sure I really need it. I kind of feel like where I might get one eventually is as I play more Agathon and see how that goes. My battle group might change so that I start with the spray one there. I can't remember its name. Who cares? It's the spray one. Because then that's a good way of also going out there, getting some souls on Agathon. It's a big, huge base that they have to deal with. And if they don't, it kind of adds to my assassination potential. And if they do, great. I have now Agathon all full up. Foreboding Go, Assassination, but we'll see. I'll have to get those games in. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on how it's going so far. Basically, the biggest things that come out is like, they are not the super overpowered thing that I thought they once were, and that's because they've had several nerfs, and I'm realizing how hard it is where you can't just do everything you want, right? Especially with Omodemos, like that 6 essence goes really, really quick, and I have to usually be very careful to not shoot myself in the foot, and, have to be very tactical for when am I going to be using that Deviros, because having that spell cheaper is really huge, but having that free summon, also very huge. So you have to kind of like decide when's the right time that you need to be doing this. But I'm loving it. It's a very interesting faction. I'm still being tempted, of course, by all my mercenaries and Signar, especially with all the dynamic update. But I'm promising myself I'm not going to cheat and go to them until at least the end of the year. I'm going to be playing Infernals until then, and then we'll see how much I cheat in there. I still plan to be doing Infernals, the majority of the time, until I get to around like that 100 game mark point, maybe even 200, and then we'll, maybe come back and give it a break type thing. So anyway, that's me, future Brian, future Malorian. You can tell me what an idiot I am, or even you viewers, right? If you are people out there that are like, hey, I have experience with Infernals. Have you thought about this? I think this idea of yours is wrong. I think you haven't explored this yet. Please tell me. I'm always learning as I go through this. I'm obviously a person that knows a lot about the game, but this is a new faction to me, and clearly, like you've been hearing, I'm learning more things as I actually, as the rubber hits the road, then things are becoming more apparent. So I'd always love to get these tips coming in. So there you go. Thanks for watching this.